The Australian elections, a nation's choice. Anthony Albanese has emerged victorious, while Peter Dutton has faced defeat. Australia has made a decisive choice. In a campaign dominated by pressing issues such as the cost of living, climate change and healthcare, Labor's promises are set to become the nation's reality.
And to join us in the work of building a better future. 3 years ago, Australians chose Labor to end the decade of denial and delay on climate change and embrace the opportunities of renewable energy.
This video delves into 10 significant promises that Albanese must now fulfill, each with the potential to directly impact your life. Will your bills decrease? Will Medicare see expansion? What changes are on the horizon for housing, wages and energy? And what implications does this have for Australia's future and its role on the global stage? Let's decode Labor's victory one policy at a time. Welcome to the Global Insight. Australia experienced the steepest decline in real household disposable income among OECD nations, with a 5.1% drop in 2023. This means that despite any wage increases, Australians found their purchasing power eroded by rising costs in essentials like rent, groceries and fuel. Inflation peaked at 7.8% in December 2022 and eased to 4.1% by December 2023, but wage growth lagged, intensifying financial pressure. To alleviate this, Labor introduced a $1.5 billion energy bill relief fund, providing up to $500 in credits to eligible households. Additionally, the childcare subsidy was increased to cover up to 90% of costs for families earning under $80,000, benefiting over 1 million families. From July 2026, the lowest tax rate will reduce from 16% to 15%, and further to 14% in July 2027, offering modest relief to low and middle-income earners. These tax adjustments aim to provide an estimated $800 annual savings for individuals earning under $100,000. Labor also reduced the Pharmaceutical Benefit Scheme co-payment from $42.50 to $30 in 2023, with a further reduction to $25 planned for 2025. This initiative is expected to save Australians over $200 million annually on prescription medicines. For a family with 2 children, these combined measures, childcare subsidies, tax cuts and cheaper medicines, could result in savings exceeding $5,000 annually. Renters and pensioners benefit from energy bill credits and capped rent increases in social housing, easing financial burdens. Critics argue that these are temporary fixes, but Labor positions them as steps toward long-term economic stability. The Reserve Bank acknowledges that targeted relief measures can help mitigate inflationary pressures without overheating the economy. While challenges remain, these policies provide immediate relief and lay the groundwork for sustainable economic growth. Healthcare became one of the biggest campaign focus points, with Labor promising an $8.5 billion fix for Medicare. They aim to reverse the steep decline in bulk billing and restore access to affordable care across the country.
One card guarantees it all. One card covers it all. Not your credit card, this, your Medicare card.
Bulk billing for standard GP visits dropped to just 66% in 2023, the lowest in over a decade. That means more Australians, especially in rural or low-income areas, were being hit with $50 to $90 out-of-pocket fees. Labor's response is to triple the bulk billing incentive for GPs seeing pensioners, children and concession card holders. That means doctors get paid more by the government so they don't have to charge patients extra. This move covers around 11.6 million Australians who qualify for bulk billing, a major shift that could cut GP fees to zero for eligible people. But whether it works depends on how many GPs actually opt in. Labor has set an ambitious target, 90% of all GP visits bulk billed by 2030, up from 66% today. That's a bold 24% increase within 6 years. They're also rolling out 58 urgent care clinics, open 7 days, bulk billed, no appointment needed. These clinics aim to take pressure off hospitals for non-life-threatening issues like infections, burns, or fractures. Emergency departments have been swamped with non-critical cases, leading to longer wait times. So these new clinics could reduce that burden, especially in suburbs and regional hubs. In mental health, Labor pledged $586 million for headspace expansions and local mental health centres. This means more access points for youth struggling with anxiety, depression or crisis. That includes telehealth and in-person services for regional areas where mental health support is often harder to reach. These clinics are meant to be free, easy to access and stigma-free. They're also investing $3.4 billion into aged care, enforcing mandatory 24/7 nursing in residential homes. This came directly from the Aged Care Royal Commission's urgent recommendations. Homes must now deliver at least 215 minutes of care per resident daily, up from around 180. That's more staff time and better supervision for frail older Australians. Prescription medicine co-payments are also falling again, down to $30 now and dropping to $25 in 2025. That's the lowest price in decades, saving households around $100 per year on average. So what does this all mean for you? If you're a parent, it could mean no more $70 GP bills for your kid's ear infection. If you're on a pension, you may no longer need to skip care due to cost. If you live in regional Australia, urgent care clinics could be your best chance at same-day care. For youth, Headspace could now be just a suburb away instead of hours. Labor's also supporting healthcare workers, 2,000 extra GP training spots per year and targeted incentives for regional areas. More doctors means shorter waits, but only if they stay in Australia. These policies may not transform Medicare overnight, but they reverse years of neglect and bulk billing decline. Whether they succeed will depend on GP buy-in and sustained funding. But be realistic, you might still face gap fees, especially in cities where clinics opt out. The goal is long-term restoration, not instant universal access. Australia's housing crisis has intensified, with median house prices in major cities reaching record highs, making home ownership increasingly unattainable for many. To address this, the Albanese government has pledged to construct 1.2 million new homes by 2029, aiming to alleviate supply shortages and stabilise prices. However, Treasury analysis indicates that achieving this target is challenging, citing labour shortages and rising construction costs as significant hurdles. Central to the plan is the $10 billion Housing Australia Future Fund, designated to build 30,000 social and affordable homes over 5 years. This includes 4,000 homes specifically for women and children affected by domestic violence and older women at risk of homelessness. For first-time buyers, the First Home Guarantee allows purchases with as little as a 5% deposit, eliminating the need for costly lenders' mortgage insurance. This initiative can save buyers up to $23,000, making home ownership more accessible for Australians entering the market. Complementing this is the Help to Buy scheme, where the government co-purchases up to 40% of a new home, reducing the financial burden on buyers. Eligible participants need only a 2% deposit, significantly lowering the entry barrier to the housing market. Labor has also committed $10 billion to construct 100,000 homes exclusively for first home buyers, ensuring that they're not outbid by investors. These homes will be strategically located near employment hubs and essential services, promoting community connectivity. Despite these efforts, experts warn that without addressing underlying supply issues, affordability challenges may persist. Critics argue that increasing buyer incentives without boosting supply could inadvertently drive prices higher. For renters, the current policies offer limited relief, with many still facing escalating rental costs and housing insecurity. Despite these initiatives, Australia's rental market remains under significant strain. National rents surged 7.3% in 2023 and 6.4% in 2024, outpacing overall inflation. This escalation has led to a severe affordability crisis for many tenants. In cities like Sydney, Melbourne and Perth, rents have increased by over 20% in certain suburbs, with some households now allocating more than 40% of their income to housing costs. This trend exacerbates financial stress, particularly among low to middle income earners. Critics argue that while government schemes assist first home buyers, they may inadvertently inflate property prices, further sidelining renters. Without substantial investment in rental housing and policy reforms, affordability issues are likely to persist. Labor is extending the $20,000 instant asset write-off for small businesses until June 2026, allowing immediate tax deductions for equipment purchases. This measure aims to boost small business investment and productivity by simplifying tax processes and reducing upfront costs. A ban on non-compete clauses is set to benefit nearly 3 million workers, enhancing job mobility and wage growth. By removing these clauses, workers can transition more freely between jobs, fostering a more dynamic labour market. The $15 billion National Reconstruction Fund focuses on revitalising industries like clean energy, medical manufacturing and technology. This fund aims to create sustainable jobs and reduce reliance on imports by strengthening domestic production capabilities. Labour's commitment to education includes 500,000 fee-free TAFE and vocational education places between 2023 and 2026. This initiative addresses skill shortages in critical sectors like construction, healthcare and technology. A 20% reduction in student loan debts will alleviate financial burdens for approximately 3 million Australians. For an average help debt of $27,600, this equates to a $5,520 reduction, easing the path to financial independence. The minimum repayment threshold for student loans will increase from $54,435 to $67,000 in 2025-26. This change ensures that graduates begin repayments only when earning a sustainable income, reducing early career financial stress. Labor has delivered consecutive budget surpluses, $22.1 billion in 22-23 and $15.8 billion in 23-24. These surpluses reflect prudent fiscal management, balancing investment in public services with economic stability. Critics caution that ongoing off-budget spending, exceeding $100 billion through 2029-30, may obscure fiscal realities. Maintaining Australia's AAA credit rating requires balancing ambitious programs with transparent budgeting. Labor's policies aim to foster economic growth, enhance job opportunities, and make education more accessible. Australia has legislated a 43% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2030 compared to 2005 levels, marking a significant shift in national climate policy. This legally binding target aligns Australia with international commitments under the Paris Agreement, aiming for net zero emissions by 2050. To achieve its emissions reduction targets, the government aims for 82% of electricity generation from renewable sources by 2030, up from just 32% in 2021. This ambitious goal necessitates rapid expansion of solar, wind and hydro projects alongside major investments in energy storage and grid infrastructure. A $2.3 billion Cheaper Home Batteries program will subsidise battery installations, cutting costs by up to 30% and aiming to roll out 1 million new batteries by 2030. For homeowners, this could mean annual savings of up to $1,100 on electricity bills while enhancing household energy resilience. The Rewiring the Nation initiative earmarks $20 billion to modernise Australia's electricity grid, integrating renewable energy zones with urban centres to ensure reliable power supply. Meanwhile, the safeguard mechanism requires Australia's 215 largest polluters to cut emissions in line with national targets. Companies that exceed their caps must buy carbon credits or invest in cleaner technology, an effort to shift industry towards sustainability. The Driving the Nation Fund, worth $500 million, will expand EV charging infrastructure, reducing range anxiety and boosting electric vehicle adoption. Electrifying homes, transitioning from gas to electric appliances, could collectively save Australians up to $40 billion by 2030. These savings will come from lower energy and maintenance costs, creating widespread financial benefits. Critics warn that transitioning too rapidly could destabilise the grid and push up costs if not managed properly. A balanced energy mix and robust storage investment will be crucial. Still, Labour's climate strategy positions Australia as a global clean energy leader, aiming to align environmental priorities with long-term economic growth. Australia plans to modernise migration growth to better align with infrastructure capacity, aiming for more sustainable urban development. This strategy seeks to prevent overstressing public services and housing, ensuring newcomers integrate effectively into the economy and society. A pivot towards skilled migration is underway, with streamlined visa processing designed to attract talent in high-demand fields such as healthcare, engineering and IT. The government is also intensifying efforts to combat migration exploitation and education fraud. This includes tighter regulations on education providers and increased inspections of workplaces employing migrants. Operation Sovereign Borders remains central to border security policy, aimed at deterring unauthorised maritime arrivals while maintaining lawful migration routes. Australia is also boosting its humanitarian intake, increasing the annual refugee quota from 17,000 to 20,000 in a renewed commitment to international asylum responsibilities. The Pacific Engagement Visa is another key initiative, providing targeted migration pathways for Pacific Island nationals and strengthening regional ties. By aligning immigration policy with labour market needs and infrastructure limits, Labour hopes to ensure both economic productivity and social cohesion. However, critics suggest that some sectors still face acute labour shortages, calling for quicker, targeted migration solutions. But the government insists that long-term sustainability takes precedence over short-term fixes. Australia is embarking on one of its largest defence expansions in history, committing $50 billion over the next decade to modernise military capabilities. The centrepiece of this overhaul is the AUKUS agreement, a trilateral pact with the US and UK to develop nuclear-powered submarines. These vessels will dramatically extend Australia's undersea range and stealth capacity, transforming its maritime defence posture. The AUKUS initiative is projected to generate around 20,000 jobs over the next 30 years, supporting a burgeoning defence industry. In parallel, Australia is bolstering regional alliances, particularly through the Quad partnership with the US, Japan and India. The Quad focuses on ensuring a free and open Indo-Pacific, with efforts to strengthen maritime security and coordinate infrastructure investment across the region. Australia is also reaffirming its commitment to the international rules-based order by continuing support for Ukraine, supplying over $730 million in aid, including military and humanitarian assistance.
The people of Ukraine are fighting not just for their own national sovereignty. They are fighting for the international rule of law. Australia has committed.
Domestically, the defence budget will grow to $100 billion by 2033 and 2034, 2.3% of GDP. Investments include long-range strike capabilities, cyber defences and space surveillance systems to counter emerging threats. Critics caution that this high-end focus could divert funds from other vital areas. Nonetheless, the government views military readiness as critical in a volatile global climate. The Albanese government has pledged to secure the future of the NDIS by launching a multi-agency crackdown on fraud after suspicious claims ballooned to over $2.7 billion. A newly created NDIS Fraud Fusion Task Force with over 100 investigators will target rogue providers billing for services never delivered. With over 610,000 Australians enrolled in the scheme, the government has capped growth at 8% annually to keep it sustainable. Left unchecked, NDIS costs were projected to reach $90 billion a year by 2032, 3 times the current defence budget. Labour plans to reduce plan inflation, reform pricing models and enhance oversight. These changes are intended to ensure services reach those most in need while weeding out fraudulent operators. For families, this should result in clearer, more reliable care plans and fewer bureaucratic hurdles. Meanwhile, aged care reform continues in response to the Royal Commission's scathing findings. Labour has committed to $11.3 billion over 4 years to boost wages for 250,000 aged care workers, granting a 15% permanent pay rise. From July 2023, every facility must have a registered nurse on-site 24/7 with a requirement of 215 minutes of daycare per resident per day, up from the previous 180. These measures aim to ensure better hygiene, supervision and medical support. Kitchens also receive a $12.5 million boost to improve food quality, an end to the era of soggy toast and powdered soup. Beyond headline policies, Labour has introduced sweeping reforms to transparency, public health and environmental oversight. At the forefront is the new National Anti-Corruption Commission, which received over 1,000 referrals in its first 6 months, proof of public appetite for cleaner politics. With broad powers to investigate misconduct, it represents a major accountability milestone. Labour is also targeting misinformation, introducing legislation to combat fake news and AI-generated disinformation, especially around elections. The proposed Communications Legislation Amendment Bill requires platforms to remove demonstrably false or harmful content or face penalties. In public health, Labour has launched a major crackdown on vaping. A phased ban will eliminate recreational vape sales and imports, with tighter controls on nicotine content and packaging to deter youth use. Illicit tobacco is also under fire, with a multi-agency task force targeting smuggling and black market operations that cost the government over $3.4 billion annually in lost tax revenue. Environmental policy is also evolving, with Labour exploring the creation of a National Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA. This agency would have independent authority to block developments that violate environmental or biodiversity standards. These behind-the-scenes reforms, while less headline-grabbing, are pivotal to shaping Australia's governance and well-being in the coming decade. As the dust settles, one truth remains: winning an election is easier than fulfilling its promises. Whether it's housing, Medicare, defence or climate change, the Albanese government now faces the test of delivery. Execution, funding and accountability will determine whether these ambitious pledges transform into lasting change. So now it's over to you. Which of these 10 promises matters most to you? Is it Medicare, climate action, or tackling the cost of living? Let us know in the comments. The election may be over, but the real accountability begins now. That's it from the team at The Global Insight for now. We want to hear again what you think. How do these reforms affect your life? Do you know somebody impacted by these policy shifts? And what do you think of Labour's vision for the future? And as always, please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel here at The Global Insight. And until next time, stay tuned.